We are back on our voyage to go through the Disney filmography, and I believe this is our eighth review at this point of classic Disney, and this one is Alice in Wonderland. I had seen this one before, many years ago. You have not. And I'll get the plot out of the way because it's very easy to describe. So one day out in the countryside, there's this girl, Alice, who's getting a history lesson from her sister. Alice becomes bored with this and she starts fantasizing about a world where everything is nonsense, up is down, down is up, everything is vice versa, and nothing means anything. And then it becomes a be careful what you wish for, you just might get it time kind of thing, because a white rabbit suddenly appears out of nowhere and Alice chases it down a rabbit hole into Wonderland, this world where everything is complete nonsense. Every single encounter that Alice has in this movie descends into chaos or even violence, and it's just a never-ending cycle of this. Now, I can read a room, and I could tell that this provoked a very strong reaction in you. Tell me what you thought of this.
I liked the opening when we were setting up the character. I liked the little musical number she had. Pretty much as soon as we enter Wonderland, it takes a nosedive straight into the toilet, and it never crawls out of it. And this was a giant pile of crap. I hated just about every second of this.
Anything you want to add before I go into mine?
I will say that it's really kind of odd and self-fulfilling that the overall message here is that, like, it's good to have an imagination, but too much of nonsense is not really a good thing, because that's exactly how I felt watching this. It's like the more this went on, and the more chaotic and stupid and idiotic and noisy and loud and chaotic and just grating it became and nonsensical, the more I hated this and the more I wanted it to be over.
Okay. So I saw this when I was in my teens, and I did not like it at all then. So I was always curious to revisit this and see what I think. And going into it, I really wanted to like it. This was brilliant, and I'm going to tell you why.
You're insane.
I was with you 100%. This movie pissed me off. It frustrated me. It irritated me. I was getting fed up with the nonsense, with the randomness, with the nonsensical conversations and the lack of advancement of any kind. And then something amazing happened.
Alice becomes frustrated herself.
When it got to that scene where she goes to the tea party, I had this mind-blowing revelation about myself. I am Alice. And I realized, oh my God, this movie has immersed me and made me feel more in the skin of a Disney character than any movie that they've done so far. This isn't a film that you watch for entertainment. This is an accurate nightmare simulation. This thing operates on dream logic. I've had dreams that were as frustrating as this, where I desperately wanted to climb out, where everything is just a never-ending cycle of bullshit. And this is so dead on accurate. It's a nightmare simulation.
Well,
it brilliantly captures that feeling of just relentless frustration. And after that, I started to feel an immense admiration for it. And by the end of it, I loved it. I was like, wow, that's how it is. This is not something you want to rewatch for entertainment. This is something you might want to come back to every now and then, or at least me. But yeah, I did a total 180. I went from being pissed off and frustrating to realizing I think this is their goal. I think this is what they're trying to do. As an exercise of putting you in the skin of someone, this is a work of genius.
Yeah, I don't know. I hesitate to say that because it's a movie made for children, and to me, that messaging is not going to come across to a child because they're more obsessed with the colors and the noise and the funny characters.
Yeah, I don't know how a child would enjoy this. It seems too nonsensical.
I think that's exactly it. I don't think there's really anything for them to not enjoy. It's just pretty colors. It's just nonsense and funny characters and wacky antics.
Yeah.
And small children will find enjoyment in that.
I have a cousin who this was one of his favorite movies, one of his favorite Disney movies, so I guess it does have some child appeal, but
I don't think you're wrong that that's the intent that they were going for. Like I said, I kind of like the messaging and I understand what they were going for, and like when Alice like leaves the tea party and says this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen,
Yes.
and then later on with the trial she's just sitting there with her hand in her palm, and I'm literally doing the same exact thing in real life. Like, just God, can we please end this?
Yeah.
Like, so as far as an experience, like, I will give it that it achieves whatever it's trying to do. But I also think it's kind of a cop-out for them to call out the fact that this is horrible and dreadful and a chore to sit through. This was a real test of my patience.
Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of. This was an experience and this was an endurance test. But then once I realized what it was doing and that it was working its magic on me in a way that's different than the other Disney movies, this felt more like an abstract piece of art than even something like Fantasia, because this is a psychological experiment.
Yeah, I don't know. I very much struggle with that. Like, seeing Disney trying to be this abstract and this like messing with people this much for the time when this came out. I just don't see it. Maybe if this had come out like in the last 20, 30 years, perhaps.
Yeah, they pulled an Andy Kaufman-esque piece of performance art on my ass, because what a 180 I did on this. Went from really hating it and being frustrating to feeling so immersed and just admiring it. Incredible. So you hated it. I clearly admired it a lot. I probably even go so far as to say I kind of love it. So on the plus side, the animation's great. The design work is beautiful.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's very crisp and clean. So there's that going for it, and
I like the water effects. I like the way the water was animated. Like, especially when she's crying and the tears are falling into the water and you can see the tears like affecting the water.
Yeah. Voice acting is solid. The Alice is voiced by Catherine Beaumont, and the White Rabbit is, I believe his name is Bill Thompson. You might recognize those voices as Wendy and Smee from the upcoming Peter Pan.
Yeah, I remembered who they were.
And then, of course, there's
Edwin in there.
Edwin. That guy's voice just brings a smile to my face. And the wonderful Sterling Holloway as the Cheshire Cat. Yeah, just...
I couldn't even enjoy the visuals after a while just because I was so irritated by just the cacophony of nonsense and sound and chaos and people clanging each other in the head and characters never shutting up.
Yeah. I don't think this is something I would rewatch for entertainment. It's like I said, it's an experience, and a hell of an experience it is. You will not forget watching this. That's for damn sure.
One of the things that I don't think really works as far as like your read on it is it doesn't seem like Alice really learns a lesson by the end of this, or it seems like she realizes what has happened to her. It's just like, oh, she looks through the door and she sees that she's asleep, so she's got to wake herself up. But I don't know, maybe if the characters in the story had realized that they were, in a hellscape that was just going to be never ending and until they woke up and like, this was a horrible thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's maybe a little superficial, but I think at the end what you are given is a relief. Like, finally, I'm out of that bullshit. And then you just sit back and admire how much of an accurate representation of a bad dream this is.
Yeah, I'm a fan of, like, projects and media that make you feel very uncomfortable, or they're supposed to be, they're supposed to create a sense of unease within you, or even like movies or video games that you play that it's kind of a dreary, like, God, I'm having a hard time thinking just because my mind is still kind of recovering from sitting through that. Yeah, just a piece of media that's not supposed to be entertaining, but it creates kind of that feeling of dread and unease. I understand what they might be going for, but man, I hated watching this.
Yeah, I was right there with you right until I wasn't. After the movie sunk its claws into me, it did not release. I was into it.
Yeah.
I felt immersed. I felt captivated. I felt like this is a grade A brilliant simulation of what it is to go completely insane. And I admire the hell out of it for that.
Yeah. As soon as Alice kind of like started getting frustrated with the whole thing, I had a brief moment where I was like, so that's what this was all for. And I couldn't help but think, like, this was not worth it. Like, we could have gotten this in half the time. And maybe I would have, connected with it more.
Thankfully, it's only 75 minutes.
Dude, it's a long 75 minutes.
So what is your final number grade on a scale of 1 to 10?
1.
I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, I hated this, man. I don't ever want to see this. I honestly thought about vetoing watching the live action version because I shudder to think of something that's worse than this.
Well, that'll be fascinating to get your take on. I haven't seen it since the theater.
But after watching this, like, I'm actually kind of excited to watch it because there's no possible way it's worse than what we just watched.
Anything above a 1 is an improvement.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing driving this either. It is just straight nonsense. And I get it, she's dreaming and it's a nightmare, but my God. Like, enough.
Grade A effort, Disney. You did something pretty incredible with this one. I just hope that I don't have a nightmare like this tonight when I go to bed.